Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 5:30 News on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Russ Riesinger.
And I'm Janelle Slade. Some big news for eastern Montana. Colstrip Power Plant signs a renewed supply agreement.
And that mine, the plant's supplier for decades, recently emerging from Chapter 11 bankruptcy earlier this year.
Now that agreement is between Northwestern Energy and the Rosebud mine located just across the highway.
Northwestern Energy is just one of 6 owners of the plant and today announced a 6-year deal with the mine for units 3 and 4. That new deal will take effect on January 1st and run through the end of 2025.
While this deal will keep the plants running for now, other co-owners of the plant say they will cut investments into it as early as 2025 with a targeted shutdown of 2027. Units 1 and 2 are slated to close by the end of this month.
Well, the state's largest electric utility, Northwestern Energy, has also mapped out a plan to acquire hundreds of megawatts of additional power in Montana.
Now that plan gets a public hearing next week and is not without controversy. Tonight, MTN's Mike Dennison tells us what the plan is and why it faces criticism.
Northwestern Energy already generates at least half the electricity it needs to serve its 370,000 Montana customers, and at peak consumption times buys the rest on the open market. But the company's plan says that regional market will tighten in the near future, and that Northwestern wants to buy or build 750 megawatts of its own generation in the next 5 years, twice as much as it has now.
The biggest takeaway from Northwestern's perspective on what this plan sets forth is the critical need that our portfolio has, and that need is not for intermittent types of generation, but what we call 24/7 generation that we can turn on and off according to the portfolio's needs.
The initial plan said that need is best met by new natural gas-fired power plants. Now, after some public criticism of the plan, Northwestern says it will ask for bids on any source of power, including wind, solar, pump storage, energy efficiency, or natural gas.
We're now going out for the competitive solicitation to let the market provide the actual data.
But Brian Fady of the Montana Environmental Information Center in Helena believes the initial plan underestimated the potential cost of natural gas-fired plants. And he worries that Northwestern is still predisposed to favor gas plants over cleaner and perhaps cheaper energy.
The gas plants that Northwestern seems to want to build, those are an economic risk for our future. And wind and solar, they don't have that same economic risk because they have no fuel cost.
He also notes the plan assumes coal-fired power from Colstrip will continue for the next 20 years.
That's a big risk to consumers if you're not mapping out what would happen if that plant does close in the next 20 years and how should the utility respond in a least cost way.
Hines says Northwestern believes part of Colstrip can continue for another 20 years and that without it, even more new plants would have to be built at great expense. He also isn't sure whether renewable power projects, wind or solar, can provide the type of power needed on a consistent basis.
I need to be able to feel comfortable that we have power available when it's 40 below zero and people are relying on electricity to heat their homes.
The plan goes before the Public Service Commission for a hearing on Monday. As explained by Commissioner Roger Koopman of Bozeman, the PSC can't change the plan, but can act as a sounding board for the public and provide its own insight.
I think sometimes utilities can kind of get onto a track. They get committed to a certain approach, and it's good for them to hear from other minds that have a lot to say and think as well.
Something else the plan doesn't include. What will be the cost of these new plans to ratepayers? That comes later, when Northwestern submits the actual projects to the PSC for its review and approval. In Helena, Mike Dennison, MTN News.
And Mike tells us that Northwestern says it plans to begin the bidding process for new plants and resources within the next 2 months.
Well, the Arley man charged with 2 shootings in March that left 1 man dead and critically wounded 3 others, including an MHP trooper, set to go to trial next year. Jonathan Birch's trial set for August 17, 2020 in Missoula District Court. Birch is accused of killing Shelley Hayes and wounding Casey Blanchard and his mother Julie. Several hours later, Bursch is accused of ambushing Trooper Wade Palmer, shooting him several times in the head, leaving Palmer with a traumatic brain injury. Casey's mother, Julie, died from her injuries in August. Right now, Bursch is charged with 1 count of deliberate homicide and 3 counts of attempted deliberate homicide. Prosecutors are reviewing Julie Blanchard's coroner reports before amending charges.
Well, 58 people welcomed into Montana law enforcement today. Take a look. This is the 170th graduating class from the Montana Law Enforcement Academy in Helena. Now, these graduates will serve with 34 different agencies across the state. This year's class representative is Deputy John Nolan of the Cascade County Sheriff's Office. Nolan had nothing but praise for his fellow graduates and hopes the people of Montana get to know each of these new peace officers in their communities.
I think when people reach out and get to know the people who are, riding around in their community a little bit more, if they get the chance to do so, I think they're going to find, normal human beings just like them behind a badge.
Now, the Academy also took time today to honor Deputy Sheriff Jacob Almendinger of Gallatin County and Blackfeet Law Enforcement Services Officer Belden Calico, who passed away this year. Both men graduated in the 164th class of the Academy.
Well, today is Menton Day. It's a day celebrated by U.S. Army Special Forces for the decommissioning of the 1st Special Services Force, which was based out of Fort Harrison in Helena. 75 years ago, the Devil's Brigade was deactivated in Menton, France. The unique joint Canadian-American top-secret force was trained in small teams and earned a reputation of carrying out missions that were considered impossible. In their 251 days of combat, the Devil's Brigade never failed a mission, but its victories came at a heavy toll. The force suffered more than 2,300 casualties. A memorial was erected in Helena at Memorial Park on Last Chance Gulch to honor the sacrifices of those men.
A Billings company is celebrating major growth to 300 Billings employees in less than a year. ROI Solutions started in February with just 40 employees. The company held off on its grand opening ribbon cutting until it knew it would be successful here. Now, ROI is a customer support center and handles calls for Doctor on Demand and HelloFresh. The local director says the company's expansion shows a good economy in Billings and across the country.
None of this would be possible if the economy wasn't right for us and the type of employee that we're getting. We hire on any given week, we'll hire 40 or 50 people. And so half of it is Billings has to be able to sustain that, which it has been able to for us. A lot of times industries like ours, customer service, people are willing to spend more and do more and really take care of the customer experience. As the economy's gotten better, the industry for us has gotten better because they want to take care of their customers.
Now, ROI Solutions has offices in Salt Lake City, the Philippines, South America, and in Europe.
Well, lights, holiday spirit, and an important cause.
Tonight kicks off the 34th year of the Festival of Trees here in Billings. 34 beautifully decorated trees will be auctioned off. The proceeds going to help the Family Tree Center, which helps to prevent and raise awareness about child abuse and neglect. Now, the gala will be emceed by Q2's Rob Griggs, and Victoria Hill will be on hand for Tea in the Trees.
And although they'll be auctioned off tonight, the trees are available to view through Sunday at the Metro Park Expo Center.
Kids that are part of the women's prison, the caregivers, we partner with them. We also have single parent homes, and so we provide that respite care for the parents to get a break. And these are families that aren't necessarily down and out, but just need an extra hand. And so this is our way of giving back to the community and just being there for them.
Such an important program. Now, the holiday season is in full force with many other events spreading cheer this coming weekend. Friday, Billings will hold its annual downtown Christmas stroll starting at 5. The community Christmas tree lighting is set for 6 p.m. on Friday on the corner of Division and First Avenue North.
Zoo Lights Christmas Lights at Zoo Montana begins Friday, as well as the Red Lodge Christmas Stroll, which runs through Saturday. And on Sunday, watch out for the Road Dogs Toy Run for the Salvation Army. And tonight on the MTN Statewide News, we remember 5-year-old Antonio Renova, the Montana boy who his parents are charged with killing last month. Tonight we'll take you to a public service in his honor. Join Jeanelle for that and more at 9 on the CW.
But first on tonight's 5:30 news, it's no movie, but this Butte dog is homeward bound after tragedy turns into miracle.
And later in sports, Scott introduces us to a senior high athlete whose favorite sport changes with the seasons. She's pretty good at all of them.
And a little light snow during the morning hours today, and as the sun broke through in the afternoon, it wasn't enough to warm us up much, but that will come tomorrow. Details coming up in a few minutes.
You're watching MTN News with Jeanelle Slade and Russ Riesinger. Storm Tracker weather with Bob McGuire. And sports with Scott Green. This is the 5:30 news on Q2, Montana's news leader.